Hi from me, Romy Stoch, and welcome to Derech Eretz, the way of the world. In today's show, Rabbi Goldman considers business principles within Judaism. We meet Lauren Gillis of Bracelets and talk to businessman extraordinaire Philip Krawtiz. When entrepreneur and founder of Hotels.com, Bob Diener, was asked about his business ethics, he said, "View your work as a means, not an end. When we help others, we feel fulfilled and accomplished. When you leverage your business to improve the community around you, you wake up every day and appreciate what you have accomplished for the community." As King Solomon in Ecclesiastes 3:12-13 said, "Our work is meaningless unless it is to do good." Rabbi Goldman elaborates further.
I've always found it fascinating how in the diamond industry, they do a multi-million-dollar deal on a handshake. And they say two Jewish words, Yiddish or Hebrew, mazel and brocha, which means good luck and blessing. And the two business people, the merchants, will shake hands and the deal is done. They don't need a contract, no written agreements. It could be a multi-million-dollar sale. To the point that the diamond industry, the overarching fraternity and association of diamond merchants and businesses, diamond clubs, they keep an eye on these things. And if somebody were to renege on their word, once they shook hands and said those magic words, mazel and brocha, good fortune and blessing, that person would be struck from the roll, wouldn't be able to be in the diamond industry any longer, anywhere in the world. To me, it's always a very, very powerful message and image. I think it was the well-known Hollywood producer, Samuel Goldwyn, who was famous for his malapropisms, his very strange expressions, which were quite funny. Clever, but very funny. He's once said, a verbal contract isn't worth the paper it's written on. In the diamond industry, you don't need a written contract, you don't need paper. A word is a word. If it is so in one particular branch of business, how much more is it so in the Bible, in the Torah, in Jewish tradition, in the teachings of, I would imagine, every moral way of life? A word is a word. There is a whole book of Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, that deals with business law, business ethics, rights and wrongs. It's called Choshen Mishpat. If you want to be a dayan, you want to be a Jewish judge in an ecclesiastical court, the Beth Din, you want to adjudicate financial disputes between Jews, you have to be a qualified judge. Not just a rabbi with an ordinary rabbinic degree, you have to do a further specialization to become a dayan, a judge who is able to adjudicate on and rule on matters of business, financial disputes. But if I had to sum up business ethics in a moment, in a line, it would be keep your word. If you do what you promise to do, what you undertake to do in a business arrangement, you'll be on the right side of business ethics, no doubt about it. And if you start ducking and diving and looking to scheme and swindle, God forbid, at the end of the day, it means you didn't keep your word. So yes, while there is a whole book and many, many chapters and details and technicalities, and sometimes the outcome of a big case will hinge on a technicality, possibly. But if we had to sum it up, what is the basic, the crux, the core of business ethics? It's to keep one's word. And that goes back to the Bible. In Bamidbar, in the book of Numbers, Moses, speaking to the heads of the tribes, tells them, everything that emanates from your mouth, you must do. You must keep your word. Our word is our bond. And if you keep your word, you will be an ethical business person.
Cape Union Mart was founded by Lithuanian immigrant, the late Philip Krawtiz, in 1933. As a third-generation family member, his grandson and namesake, Philip Krawtiz, joined the business in 1970. In just over 40 years, Philip has grown Cape Union Mart from a one-store operation to one of South Africa's largest family-owned companies and the largest unlisted clothing retailer.
I was never around for the founding of Cape Union Mart. Its origins date right back to the late 1800s when my late grandfather, Philip Krawtiz, a poor Russian immigrant, came to this country, didn't have any money, had heard about the gold rush, and in 1886 came out to South Africa. He founded a little company there called P. Krawtiz and Company, and I suppose you could describe it as an algemene handelaar, what many Jews were doing, anything to make a living. Anyway, he took ill and it was suggested that he should come down to the Cape as it was a better climate for him. Came down here and they decided to change the name to something more generic. They decided to call the business the Mart, but they couldn't get that registered, so they then tried the Cape Union Mart, finally got that, and that was what the company became known as. Grandfather passed away, and my dad had to come and run this little business, knowing virtually nothing. He worked for the OK Bazaars and brought his skills with him and started the business and selling basically anything that he could to make a living. But he soon discovered something very interesting. He discovered that if he could find a niche in the market, that was the only way he could survive. So he carried bigger sizes than anyone else carried. He found unique merchandise. He was the first person to import Levi jeans into South Africa.
I went for an interview at one of these business services, you know, that finds employment, and they sent me down to Cape Union Mart. And then it was Mr. Arthur Krawtiz, Philip's father, and his mother, Claire. They were there. And it was chop chop, very quick interview, and I started virtually the next day. I was 19 when I started, and Mr. and Mrs. Krawtiz was like mother and father to me. So they were my family.
When I came into the business, my dad had a heart attack. I had to leave varsity in my final year, come in, take over and run the business. It was a small business, it was one store. My late parents didn't have money. We lived in a 20 Rand a month apartment in Sea Point. Gave us all the love in the world, but never had money. And to survive, I had to do it. So it wasn't a question of should I, shouldn't I, oh well. It was just natural, it had to happen.
This is now a fourth generation family business. My dad built it up from a single store to what it is today. Of course, I think he has always wanted us to come back and work in the business, but it's never been a requirement or a plan or a path. I think it's just happened fortuitously, and I think, you know, all of us, we always say that Cape Union Mart was always a fifth member at the Shabbat table growing up. It's part of our family, it's part of who we are. We grew up in the stores, so it's exciting to be able to come back and contribute and watch the business grow and flourish.
My late grandfather, Joseph Ratzke. Joseph Ratzke was one of the founders of the Jewish community in South Africa. He was involved in the founding of the Chevra Kadisha. He was involved in the Benevolent Society. He was involved in all the shuls. And I never had the pleasure or privilege of meeting him. But certainly the values that he espoused really rang home with me. And you know, the whole concept of Derech Eretz is a wonderful concept, because the two words Derech, a path, Eretz, through the land, can be used symbolically in so many senses. And I feel that the Derech Eretz culture that I got from him was all about values, and that was all about ethics and the way you treat your fellow human being.
He's not only an incredible businessman, but also an absolutely incredible father who supported each one of us to fulfill our dreams and to go off into the big bad world, which I know wasn't easy for him and my mom at the time, and encourage us to spread our wings and see, you know, what we want to do. You know, fortunately for him, two of us came back to the nest to work in the family business, but he really gave us the freedom to choose that. And so I think that really speaks to his generosity of spirit as well.
My late dad was always known as Mr. K in the business. And we had staff of 3 or 4, and the reps would come in, they would show us the merchandise, and my dad would say, now let's be really democratic. I want all of your opinions. We'd say, we pick this one and that one. My dad would say, okay, I've listened to your democratic opinions, but we're going to buy that one and the other one. And we used to tease him and say, yeah, as usual, you just do it the K way. And so that became our brand, which today is the best established outdoor brand in the country. And certainly it's a popular brand, and we're very proud of it.
I think my great-grandfather and my dad very much came from an ethos of work hard, play after work, come to work, do what you need to do, and the rest will follow. And I think that, to be fair, it's a combination of our new CEO and my dad's belief in him that have kind of formed that view which has permeated our business.
Learned a lot from my father. He was a visionary in his time. Very hard work was the essence. Being able to do every job yourself was important. You should never be telling somebody to do a job that you haven't done yourself. Also, because he never had money, he certainly taught me to be thrifty. And he ran a very lean, clean operation, and I think that that's a good discipline. He also taught me a lot about trying to do something different, not what everybody else was doing. And he was way ahead of his time in his marketing methods. So I think that a lot of my pure business skills came from my dad.
I mean, my father saw many things in this country before any of us could imagine. I'll never forget, you know, when the internet was still new, he was one of the first people who was on the internet and figuring out what he could do and registering our domain name. So I really think there's an element of visionary in him.
I've always said that I've had only 2 goals for my entire working career. Goal 1, I want to complete my working career without ever having had to retrench a single person. And that is something we've managed to date. We have well over 3,000 employees in the company. And that's the first thing. They give us their loyalty, their dedication. I feel that we owe that back to them. The second goal is that when people who've given us their best look back on their careers, I want them to be able to say that we were their best option. I'm so proud of the fact that so many of our top management started with me alongside working as salespeople, as typists, as secretaries, and have gone all the way. To me, if we can help every person to achieve their own potential, then really, to a certain extent, we've completed Hashem's work.
Many people at KP Mart have stayed with the organisation for 30, 40 years, and I think that those people have bought into the overall values of the business, the belief that the Krawtiz family will allow them to be the best that they can be, and a trust in my father that he will drive this business to where it can go and that they can be a part of the journey.
I've been with KP Mart for 56 years. It was a fantastic journey. We were a family, and we are still a family today. I enjoyed every second minute of it, and I would do it all again.
For me, the words Derech Eretz literally mean the path through the landscape. And the landscape is the landscape of life itself. And I believe that unless you have a value system, you are not equipped with a roadmap to find your way from where you are to where you want to go. We need to be able to ensure that not only do we get to where we want to go, but that we can use our knowledge, our experience, our wealth to help the whole world to go from where it is to where it can be.
Derech Eretz. Derech Eretz.
Founder of Relate Bracelets, Lauren Gillis, believes that we are all connected and each of us has the opportunity, responsibility, and privilege to be agents of social change. As a 100% not-for-profit social enterprise, Relate Bracelets are handmade, thus creating opportunities for members of various communities to be involved at every stage of a project and benefit from it.
I went into the helping profession, I think, because I had incredible role models. And we must never underestimate that. I think my parents were always giving, were always of service, were always involved in the community, the synagogue. And it was instilled in me from a very young age that our responsibility goes far beyond the family. It goes to the extended family, to the community, probably to humanity and the world and its inhabitants. So it was a given that I would do social work. And I started working with newly blinded. That was my passion in the beginning. Started training blind runners. And I think it was then that I started experiencing what it felt like when I was able to create an opportunity for someone. It fed my soul. I didn't know at that point in time what I wanted to do, but all I knew was that I wanted to find a way to make life, create opportunities and make life a little bit easier for others. And in the middle of the night, I woke up to this profound experience, Nando's chicken. I actually got up, I went to my computer and I typed in Nando's and it said, Nando's turns 21. And that's where the idea came from. I said, I'm going to go to Nando's with an idea. And I did. And I said, it's your 21st birthday, you're having a big party in Joburg and in Cape Town and in Durban. How about this idea? We take unemployed people off the streets and we make beaded bracelets with a cockerel and a 21. And I don't want to earn anything. Whatever money I get, we'll feed orphan and vulnerable children in the name of Nando's. And we'll give them to all the employees to celebrate your 21st birthday. And they said, amazing, here's an order for 6,000 bracelets. So that was probably one of the most daunting and exciting days of my life. There's nothing greater than having a time-defined goal, and I had 4 months. And so we started in a little shack far further than Khayelitsha, making bracelets. I had my brother-in-law, I think it's important, who has always been right from the word go, my assistant at everything, my right and my left hand, my administrative help, my financial advisor. So he's really helped me grow the business. Then Nando's became very, very involved in malaria work. And so they approached us to consider a malaria bracelet. And this bracelet, the malaria bracelet, was our very, very first design. And in fact, our only cause right in the beginning. And it's been incredible. I think we've already donated $1 million just for the malaria cause.
When I started in the beading, I come across gogos who didn't even know the difference about color, who couldn't count. But they learned a lot from this. And the first beading we had was the malaria one, and that is 8 colors. So I had to teach each one of them. This is number 1, that is number 2. So most of them, they learned a lot, and it's also like stress relieving.
As I've got arthritis, it just trains my hands at the same time when I'm doing it, and it helps a lot.
Every single bracelet creates earning opportunities for young people and old people. And every single bracelet invests in skills development and enterprise development, which are, at the end of the day, the biggest challenges, I think, in this country. So it's all about creating opportunities. It's all about job creation. And it's all about a creative way to fund other causes.
So our model is quite a sophisticated one, but it's quite simple and powerful. So there are many different people who benefit from our program. So you've got the people in the townships, the gogos and the tatas as we call them, who make our bracelets. We probably support about 400 or 500 of them on a weekly basis in the townships. So they earn very small pensions, 1,500, 1,600 Rand. On a really good month, if we're very active and our demand is high, we can put between 500 and 600 Rand extra into their bank accounts. Now that's a lot of money when you're talking about a pension of that size.
Because we are doing this beading, and it does help us since we are pensioners. That money helps us maybe to buy some electricity or foods, whatever, but it's something very important.
My role here at Ikamva and Relate, we collect the beads, and then from Relate, and then we distribute the beads to the clubs. We ensure that every club has got an opportunity to trade in that particular month. And then I ensure that I return the rolls to Relate, and then they are counted there, and then I ensure that each and every senior who bidded is getting paid.
They just thread this long elastic into beaded balls and get paid for it. And then we can get youngsters who will complete the bracelets and all get upskilled.
Doing the bracelet, using the bead, go-go's doing the roll, and then come to us and make a bracelet. Yes, each person do 150 bracelets per day. But me, I am supervisor, so my work is that I'm hanging out the work to them and doing the bracelet each and every day.
We have a production team here in our offices in Cape Town. They're youngsters, also from very, very challenged backgrounds, and they earn a salary while they work for us, but we also put them through skills courses as well.
I've been here almost 4 years now, and I'm a bracelet finisher. It helps me because we were doing short courses, and it helps us to get jobs so that in future we'll have good jobs.
I don't like to say that we sell bracelets. We sell solutions, because if everybody will wear the change they want to see, or if everybody will show that they're just part of a movement, it's incredible the impact that we can have.
Lauren's an inspiration. She really is. She's one of those people that you don't find often in the world, that gives selflessly. I mean, we say I'm the head and she's the heart of the business, and she literally is that. She'll give and give and give, and she has the modesty to say that she's the selfish one, because giving is it's a gift, which the more you give, the more you want to give.
Derech Eretz, for me, is an interesting concept, because I think it is about the way of the world. It is about trying to find your purpose. It's trying to find your why. I think back to my parents having taught me values of respect and compassion and integrity and taking responsibility to care for others. So what gives, for me, what would change the whole world is to be really focused on the we and not the I.
King Solomon in Proverbs 24:16 said, "A righteous man falls down 7 times and gets up." If you have missed any of our past episodes of Derech Eretz, you will be able to watch them on our Derech Eretz Connect YouTube channel. From me, Romy Stoch, and the Derech Eretz team, remember, life is all about the ability to get up from challenge.